This is Morning Motivation for Educators on the Bee Podcast Network. Learn about all the shows at beepodcastnetwork.com. You'll hear from a variety of formal and informal educators who help put this podcast together. If you'd like to contribute your voice to this show, please go to morningmotivationedu.com to apply.
Welcome to Morning Motivation for Educators. I'm Danielle Nuhfer, a former teacher who knows firsthand how exhausting and overwhelming this work can be. After 20 years in the classroom and 2 bouts of burnout, I found tools to help teachers not just survive, but thrive. Teaching Well was created to help educators like you manage stress, find balance, and reconnect with the passion that brought you to teaching. This podcast is your space to breathe, reflect, and take those small steps toward feeling more grounded and fulfilled. Your well-being is crucial to your school's success, and I'm here to support you. So with that, let's begin. This is a classically challenging time during the school year. The seasons are slowly changing, hopefully, but there is a stretch between now and some kind of substantial break and reprieve. And if you follow the news at all, there is seemingly not much calming about any of the twists and turns the world outside our door is taking. But one thing I always try to affirm and reiterate to myself and those I'm working with is that what we can control is ourselves. So even when school is challenging and the rest of the world is too, my suggestion is to try something new. I recently suggested that during this time and throughout your teaching year, you may want to consider trying new things in order to stay in the profession. And might I add, new things that might have nothing to do with your teaching. This may sound a little counterintuitive, but if you need a refresh, check out last week's blog and podcast. So if you're still with me, I always want to make sure that I'm providing you with not only the why, but the how. It's of utmost importance that you have a manageable plan to try something new, and that's what I'm here to share with you. So if you're ready to try something new, even when you're busy, here are 3 steps to start. Step number 1, I always like a good list. And today, I'd like you to write a live list. I'm a big fan of focused free writing to get all of your thoughts on paper. I encourage you to take 5 to 10 minutes and write down everything you want to experience while you're alive. This is a creative reframe to the bucket list. Now, narrow it down to your top 10 things and post it on the wall or somewhere you can see it regularly. I prefer not to suggest having it in your phone, although if you have a notes app and it's in there and you always look at it, I think that's totally reasonable. But it's really good to have this somewhere you can regularly look at it, even if it's in a passing glance. I have mine on a wall on a bulletin board at home. You could put it on your planner and keep it somewhere that you just come back to regularly. When I started this process, I wrote down some things I knew I could do more easily, but I also had some that I had no idea how or when I was going to complete them. Last year, I was so happy to cross off run further than a 50K, but I have no idea when I'll be able to hike on the Camino de Santiago off the list. After you cross off one thing, you replace it with another item. And also, maybe as the live list lives on your wall, you realize that some of them aren't really that important any longer. Get rid of them and put some others down. Disclaimer, this is not meant to make you upset or frustrated. This is meant to focus you on one thing and the most important things. So after you have that live list, I'd like you to phone a friend. And specifically for this activity, I'd like you to phone in the friend of ChatGPT or whatever other AI tool you are most comfortable using. After you have this live list, pick one that you feel is within your realm of doing in the next 6 months to a year. For me, my live list has had relearned Spanish for quite some time. I know that relearning Spanish at some capacity would be manageable within the next year, if I planned and was intentional. So I decided instead of just theorizing, I would phone a friend to find out the best way to learn Spanish, because believe it or not, I've had over 5 years of Spanish, including high school and college, and really don't have much to show for it. I like using tech as a tool, so I phoned a friend. I could have picked a Spanish teacher friend, but I opted for one who could give me a thorough answer super quick, and then I can ask my in real life people for support along the way. I use tech to find suggestions for the quickest way to get started and the most creative ways to schedule things. And here's what I asked. One of my goals is to relearn Spanish. Can you tell me, as a busy mom and teacher, the best, most effective way to relearn it? I definitely have a good base for understanding the language, but I want to relearn and be able to use more easily and teach my kids too. I received a plan that was general but good, but I wanted more granular details. So then I asked it for something more structured, and it came up with an 8-week structured plan for relearning Spanish, designed for 20 minutes a day, but flexible. Perfect, I thought. And now we're on to step 3. Take the smallest step. For me and the Spanish journey, it's trying out an app to begin and making a date with myself to use it 5 of the 7 days of the week. What I'm considering doing is taking the social media apps off my phone and then trying to have the Spanish app be the thing I use when I inevitably reach for something to do when I'm sitting on the couch in the evening. So I have 2 apps to try, and then I'll dive more deeply and see how that's going. The goal is that by the end of these 8 weeks, I will have learned a little Spanish, but I will also learn more about myself. I can then decide if I want to keep moving forward or try something new again. Will I use it? I hope so. But I also hope that by the end of the year, I will have the experience of having a goal and figuring out how among my life to master it. And that is something I can focus on beyond the day-to-day challenges of the classroom. It's also a skill I can bring to the classroom, and it's a focus that can help me leave some of the stress of the classroom in school. So I'd love for you to think about what you can do to try new things and how to try new things in your life. And if you want to, shoot me an email, find me online, and let's talk about what you want to try and how you're going to try to do it. And thanks for joining me today. If you're ready to take a deeper dive into your well-being, check out my book, The Path of the Mindful Teacher, or schedule a call to connect. Find links for these and other ways we can work together in the show notes and at teachingwell.life. Remember, caring for yourself is the best way to care for your students.
Thanks for listening. And whatever role you have in education, we have a podcast for you at bpodcastnetwork.com. Who among your friends and colleagues needs to hear this message today? Please share it with them right now.